the woman suddenly noticed something strange. A missile unexpectedly rushed across the sky. In the next moment, the friends inside heard the explosion and hurriedly ran outside. Before they could make sense of the situation, 2 more bombers flew towards the city. Realizing that something had happened in the city, the group was instantly thrown into panic. After all, their homes were in the city. Just then, someone received a call from their parents. After some conversation, they learned that there was chaos in the city. However, the authorities had already dispatched troops to stabilize the situation. After hearing this, they thought the situation wasn't too complicated, so they relaxed and continued their party. But what they didn't know was that a huge crisis was quietly approaching, and these party-going young men and women had only arrived here 2 days ago. They were 3 couples in passionate love. It was summer break, so they found a villa in the suburbs to throw a party. At this time, Jesse called Colin and others to the lawn to test their ball skills. But strangely, there was a black dog drooling in front of them. Its eyes were filled with aggression. Moreover, it seemed to have had one ear bitten off by something. It looked like a rabid dog in every way. The group was so scared that they didn't dare to move, but the black dog suddenly accelerated and charged at them. Fortunately, they managed to rush into the house in time. Then, Colin cautiously pulled back the curtain. The group was instantly terrified by the mad dog. Landon heard the noise and ran over. Hearing his friends scream so loudly, he wanted to see what kind of dog could be so frightening. Fortunately, everyone stopped him just in time. Seeing his friends still shaken, Landon hurriedly reassured them and told them not to worry. Just get a good night's sleep tonight. The dog would leave if we ignore it. The next morning, the group rushed to the window to check the situation outside, but the black dog had been standing outside all night. By the looks of it, it intended to guard the spot. Jesse was very angry. How can a dog ruin our trip? So he decided to confront the dog head-on. At this moment, Landon smartly handed him a baseball bat. Then Jesse stormed out with the bat raised. At this point, the black dog saw someone coming out and charged straight towards him. Jesse stood his ground, raising the baseball bat high. After knocking the black dog down, Colin approached the black dog to check if it was really dead. Suddenly, the black dog actually opened its mouth. Fortunately, Colin dodged quickly and wasn't bitten. Landon hurriedly delivered a few more blows until the black dog died completely. Only then did Colin dare to approach and remove the dog's collar. Fortunately, the collar had the owner's address on it. After some discussion, Colin prepared to return the dog's body to its owner. Then, he drove away from the villa, but shortly after getting on the road, he heard an emergency broadcast. The announcement stated that a virus was rampant, and there were zombies attacking people everywhere. The government urged citizens to stay home and hide. Upon hearing this, Colin immediately realized that the bombers earlier were not sent to quell a riot, but to kill zombies. He was still pondering whether he should continue delivering the dog. Suddenly, Colin saw a car ahead that crashed into the green belt. Beside the car stood a woman, frozen and motionless. Thinking the woman might need help, Colin hurried over to ask if she needed assistance. At this moment, the woman suddenly turned her head at the sound and began to tear at her own hair in a frenzy. She pulled her scalp off. Colin watched this bizarre scene and realized that the woman had mutated into a zombie. Then, Colin quickly jumped back into his car, ready to escape, but the woman relentlessly pursued him. Then she jumped onto the hood of the car. Seeing the woman's grotesque appearance, Colin quickly drove off, shaking her off the car. After finally returning to the villa, Colin hurriedly told everyone about the zombies. He suggested that they should quickly drive away from there. Some agreed with Colin, but others raised doubts. Since there were zombies everywhere outside, it would be dangerous for them to go out. It was better to stay in the villa and hide. Surely someone would come to rescue them eventually. As the arguments heated up, suddenly, a zombie pinned Landon to the ground. Jesse quickly swung the baseball bat at the zombie. They didn't stop until the zombie was a bloody mess, but it was too late for everything. Landon was already completely dead. Seeing this scene, Casey rushed over and picked up her boyfriend's body, then started crying loudly. But the situation was critical now. Zombies outside, hearing the noise, had already broken in. Everyone hurried upstairs. At this moment, Yuna noticed that Casey was still standing there, so she hurried over to pull her up. Then the two prepared to hide in a room on the second floor. But Casey didn't know how to be grateful, and directly locked Yuna outside the door. This move left Yuna completely stunned. The reason Casey did this was entirely due to the cheating incident from the day before. At that time, Her boyfriend Landon had secretly arranged to meet Yuna. She saw them being intimate with her own eyes, but Casey didn't have the courage to confront their affair. And regarding Yuna, Casey had always held a grudge. Just then, the group hiding next door heard Yuna's piercing screams. Jesse wanted to rush out to save his girlfriend. Clearly, he was unaware of his girlfriend's infidelity. However, going out now would undoubtedly mean death, so the others quickly restrained him. Soon, the surroundings became quiet. Helen hurried to the window to check the situation. Strangely, the zombies that had been roaring and clawing were now standing completely still. At this moment, Colin told everyone that the female driver he saw earlier was also motionless at first. It was only after he asked if she needed help that she suddenly charged at him. It seemed that zombies search for prey based on sound. After hearing this, they didn't even dare to make a sound while breathing. Now the villa was surrounded by zombies. They could only quietly hide in the room. At night, Casey, who was alone next door, felt extremely scared, so she gently opened the window. Then she called out Helen's name softly. Even though her voice was very soft, it was still picked up by the zombies. They quickly became agitated and rushed towards Casey. Fortunately, Casey ran pretty fast. Just as the zombies were about to catch her, she managed to climb through the window into the room where Helen and the others were. At this moment, Jesse rushed over upon seeing Casey. He questioned her about why Yuna was attacked by the zombies. Casey didn't dare to tell the truth. She had to lie and say that Yuna tripped while running, and that she couldn't save her in time.
Are you sure that's how it happened?
Yes.
Upon hearing this, Jesse chose to believe Casey. After all, in front of zombies, no one could predict when they might lose their lives. The entire night, the group was enveloped in fear. They were too scared to sleep at all. The next day, Helen asked Colin when they would be rescued. Colin hurried to reassure Helen. He stated that if they didn't contact their parents for a long time, their parents would definitely notify the rescue team to come for them. But Jesse said not to be too naive, not to mention whether their parents were safe now. The food in the villa was running low, and they would starve to death before the rescue team arrived, so they had to leave to survive. At this moment, Colin provided a solution to the group. His car was nearby the villa. As long as someone could go down and drive the car to lure the zombies away, then quickly turn back to pick up the others, they might be able to escape. But this task sounded very dangerous. Who should they choose to drive? Before anyone could speak up, Helen directly nominated Jesse to go. She said Jesse had strong overall abilities, and it was most appropriate to send him. Jesse also looked confused. Colin is also very strong. Why did she choose him? But everyone around him had eager eyes on him. Jesse still agreed. Then he asked Helen where the car keys were, but Helen had left them on the bar on the first floor. This raised the difficulty of the task to hellish levels. Jesse could only go get the keys first. Then, Colin tied a flare to Jesse's leg, telling him to lure the zombies far away. When it was time, everyone would act upon lighting the flare. After explaining everything, Jesse tiptoed out the door. Even though he was extremely careful, the zombies still rushed towards him. The others inside heard the strange noises outside and felt a chill in their hearts. But Jesse reacted quickly and ran into the bathroom to hide. Then he quietly crawled out the window. Seeing that it wasn't very high, Jesse jumped down directly, looking at the zombies below, who were standing still. Suddenly, luckily, Jesse was as quick as lightning and pushed the zombie down into the living room on the first floor. He quickly grabbed the keys and ran towards the car. There were many zombies blocking his way, but they couldn't run as fast as Jesse. Soon, Jesse got into the driver's seat and started the car. After all, the zombies chased after him. According to Colin's plan, he needed to lure the zombies far away. Just then, Jesse hesitated. Because his girlfriend was already dead, he could easily just drive away. If he went back to wait for them, he would put himself in danger again. But after hesitation, he still lit the flare and threw it out. At the same time, Colin and the others saw the signal and quickly climbed out the window. Then, they slowly made their way to the roof of the car. But when it was Helen's turn, the zombies all charged towards her. Seeing the zombies getting closer, Casey and Colin hurriedly jumped into the car. At this moment, Helen realized that if she didn't jump now, she would be doomed. She jumped down without any hesitation. Jesse quickly drove the car, shaking off the zombies far behind. At this time, Helen on the roof kept shouting for Jesse to stop. Jesse had no choice but to hit the brakes, but due to the inertia, Helen fell hard. Colin hurriedly helped Helen into the car. At this time, the group thought the crisis had temporarily passed. They prepared to rest for a while. If nothing unexpected happened, An accident was about to occur. Suddenly, a girl appeared in the middle of the road. Not knowing whether she was a zombie or a human, Jessie could only swerve the steering wheel to try to go around her. But in the next second, after the car finally stopped, Jessie cried out that his leg was broken, and Casey was also stuck in her seat, unable to move. At this moment, the zombies around quickly gathered towards this direction upon hearing the noise. Colin and Helen hurriedly rescued Casey. At this point, the zombies were already behind them. The four of them were terrified and ran away. Fortunately, they soon discovered an abandoned building. They quickly hid inside. Luckily, the door here was sturdy enough, so the zombies couldn't get in and temporarily left. The group finally had a chance to catch their breath. As night fell, they decided to rest here for the night. Because the night was particularly quiet, the undead outside had fallen silent. The next day, when they woke up, Colin looked outside and noticed something strange. The horde of zombies had mysteriously disappeared. There's nothing on the street now, but this was a good thing for them. They could take this opportunity to treat Jessie's leg. Then, the group cautiously made their way to the street. Fortunately, there was a pharmacy not far away, so they hurried inside. As soon as they entered, they heard a broadcast nearby. They quickly followed the sound to find its source. There was a corpse lying on the ground. The corpse was holding a radio that was broadcasting news. Then, the group quieted down to listen carefully to the broadcast. When they heard that the government sent helicopters every afternoon at 5 to pick up survivors from the rooftop of Northwestern University, they were incredibly excited. The luckiest thing was that they were only 5 kilometers away from that university. Immediately, they hurriedly got some medicine to bandage Jessie's wound. They also searched the pharmacy for supplies and weapons to take with them. With everything ready, the group prepared to head to Northwestern University immediately. But as soon as they left the pharmacy, they were attacked by zombies. They were terrified and ran away. In their panic, they ran into an alley. But someone had installed a door here. In order to survive, they had to climb over the door one by one. Just then, Casey, who was running behind, tripped and fell. When she got up, the zombies had already caught up with her. Jessie and the others wanted to help but were helpless. Then, they could only stand by and watch as Casey was devoured. Now, the time for the helicopter rescue was drawing closer. However, they had already arrived at the university's entrance. There were a large number of zombies at the entrance. They had completely blocked the door. It was nearly impossible to sneak in. At this moment, Colin volunteered to lure the zombies away. Meanwhile, Jessie and Helen took the opportunity to run inside, but Colin was lucky enough to escape from so many zombies. Then, the three reunited and quickly entered the designated building. But the zombies that Colin had lured away all returned, so Colin quickly shut the door to block the zombies. But Jessie and Helen didn't notice that Colin's finger had already been bitten by a zombie. Just as Jessie and the others called for Colin to run, Colin suddenly fell to the ground, convulsing. Only then did Jessie and the others realize that Colin had been infected. Watching Colin turn into a zombie, Jessie, considering their friendship, didn't want to harm him at all. But the irrational Colin attempted to attack them. In response, Jessie could only choose to kill him. Meanwhile, a large group of zombies from the building had already caught up. Fortunately, the elevator doors closed just in time before the zombies arrived. Just when they thought they were safe, the elevator suddenly got stuck. The two, not understanding what was happening, looked at the open elevator doors and realized they were stuck between two floors. The scariest thing was that the zombies below discovered them. They started reaching up, trying to pull them down. Jessie swung the axe wildly. After a series of maneuvers, he successfully dealt with the zombies in front of them. Soon after, the two successfully reached the rooftop. They were very excited because a helicopter really flew overhead. But strangely, the helicopter was flying towards the adjacent building. At this moment, they realized they had run into the wrong building. Seeing this mocking scene, the two were utterly devastated. But in order to survive, they had to quickly move to the next building. So, the two cautiously made their way to the first floor. It was completely dark inside the building. The zombies had fallen into a standby state. As long as they didn't make a sound, they could sneak out safely. But things didn't go as planned. Helen got too nervous seeing the zombies in front of her, and suddenly swallowed hard, and the zombies sharply picked up on that sound. Realizing the situation was dire, the two immediately ran away. To fend off the zombies, Helen had to light the flare in her hand. Fortunately, the zombies were afraid of fire. and didn't follow them for the time being. After several twists and turns, Helen finally reached the rooftop of the adjacent building, but Jesse was fighting with the pursuing zombies. In a critical moment, the pilot decisively shot to save Jesse. After confirming that they were not zombies, they finally boarded the helicopter successfully. The two of them should rush to the shelter to live a good life. Just then, there was a shocking plot twist. Everything that had just happened seemed to be just Helen's fantasy. In reality, they hadn't been rescued at all, because the helicopter was full. They ignored Helen's pleas and flew away. Soon, more and more zombies swarmed onto the rooftop. Their fate was predictable. The film ended here. Zombie-themed movies have been overdone, and this film was standard and lacked originality. However, the overall plot was relatively tight, and there were still thrills and excitement. There has been ongoing debate about the film's ending. Some people believe it has a double ending, designed intentionally to satisfy different audience needs, but most people think it's simply a twist, because in an apocalypse, the zombies roam freely, which is full of despair. Coupled with such an ending, it can amplify feelings of oppression and helplessness. If you like my channel, please click to subscribe to my channel.